Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. I'm your host, Madison Malloy, and on this episode, we are talking everything from comedy to Botox to manifesting to rejection. I am sitting down with one of my comedian friends. We were doing comedy together since I started comedy in New York. He's since moved on to LA. It was so good to catch up with him. He's got a dry bar special out that's been amazing. He's been touring with Nate Bargatze. If you don't know who he is, crawl out from under the rock. Definitely go and check that out. But yes, it's an amazing interview. You guys are not going to want to miss it. It is fun. It is insightful and it's funny. It's great. So we'll be right back after this brief message.
Hey, it's Madison Malloy. I'm excited to announce that my new book, Time to Lighten the Fuck Up, is now available online and in stores. You can pick up your copy today by going to Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. This new book is a humorous self-help guide to help you remove the obstacles that are holding you back so you can take things less seriously and live a more enjoyable life. I'm so excited for you to read it. Now back to the show.
We are back with our amazing and hilarious guest. I'm so excited to have this guy on my podcast. We have done comedy together for years and so honored to have him here. So I'd like to welcome comedian Dustin Chafin. How you doing, buddy?
Yay, I'm good. Great to see you.
Yeah, you too.
I always say that comedians never hang out unless there's a podcast involved. You know, that's how we actually catch up. If there's some sort of interview, then hey, we get to see each other again. Just on our own, we're awful. But if there's a structured show, then yeah, I'll talk to you. I'll hang out. We'll catch up.
Exactly. But that's what I always tell people too. I'm like, it's good to have comedian friends. It's good to hang out sometimes, but do it in doses because you don't want to bring in drama to your workplace. You don't hang out with your coworkers all the time. It's kind of the same thing.
Sure.
It's like balance, and that's why it's always,
There's drama in the New York comedy scene? No.
Never. I tried to stay as clear away from it as I could. I was like, everyone's like, you got to hang out till 2 a.m. I'm like, for what? What am I hanging out for?
Yeah, it's a tough call because it's like, it just depends on what kind of quality of life that you want and how, there's really no wrong way or right way to do that hangout with the comedy scene. Because sometimes it works at certain clubs and then some clubs you just feel like you're in the way. You know what I mean? It really depends on the vibe for sure.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Because there's a lot of networking that can be done too. But after a certain hour, it's like, go home.
Yeah.
That at least worked for me. But I always had a day job too. So I had to go home because I had to wake up at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So that kept me a little bit sane. But anyways, let's talk about your new special you have with Dry Bar, which is huge.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's called Cranky Pants. That's my girl may or may not have named it. And
oh, I love it.
So yeah, it's on Dry Bar, which is if you don't know, is kind of a family-friendly stand-up platform. They've been around a few years and they've really kind of taken off. And it's because I think a lot of people want to be able to watch stand-up comedy with their kids, with their nana. And so it's a really cool platform for us comics to kind of get specials and get seen. And and it also kind of disciplines you a little bit to kind of stay in the framework of being clean and stuff. So it's been really, really good for me, actually. I feel like I've grown a lot trying to kind of like get away from a little bit of that New York City comedy thing where I feel like sometimes we fall into this, edgy. I mean, I was raised by like Dave Attell and all these guys. And so, and it's great, but sometimes it's like, it's nice to have a broad audience. And so this has been fun to kind of be a part of this. So, and I'm getting a lot of viewers. So it's been amazing.
Yeah. I mean, Dry Bar has like launched people to the next stratosphere.
Yeah, it's good. A lot of people see it. There's a lot of people, they want that clean comedy. And I don't, and there's kind of a stigma to clean comedy. And I feel like there shouldn't be. I think, because, it's like we all like Sinbad and we all like Jim Gaffigan. We all like Brian Regan. But, those are clean comics. But you don't think that they are because they're so funny. And so they don't have that thing. But, so I think it's, definitely, I'm happy to be trying to be a part of this whole thing, the clean comedy clan. I'm trying to get involved.
Yeah, well, you're going to work more and those corporate gigs, ask Tom Carter.
Sure. Yeah.
Really well. And
absolutely.
People always used to tell me, work clean. I'm like, I don't think my mind works that way. I'm really gonna have to try.
Mine does not work that way. I was raised by alcoholics. I'm the only one in my family who's never been arrested. I mean, I just come from all this chaos. So yeah, I don't think that way. I was in high school. I had my own apartment. You know what I mean? Like I have been a very, very different than the average upbringing. And so yeah, so my mind does not think clean. I mean, I tried to be clean. Like I went through a religious phase to kind of avoid jail and all that stuff my family was going through. So I
Yeah.
tried to do that. I was a Mormon and like I went through this whole thing, but it's definitely it's challenging for me to think like, I'm not definitely don't come from that kind of environment where it's soft or, like, oh, good upbringing and all that stuff. So it's
But
definitely a
that's
challenge.
I mean, it is a challenge, but the fact that you did it is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's, that's what's great about comedy because I know you're all about kind of making goals and accomplishing things and kind of
Yeah.
going out of your comfort zone. And I think it's really cool what you're doing. And, it's important
Oh,
to
thank
do
you.
things that you don't think that you normally would be able to do. And then you just kind of like force yourself to kind of like dig in. And yeah, that's what it's, that's really what life's about. Just being uncomfortable and taking a step forward and not being afraid to do it. So I think that's kind
Yeah.
of that's what I'm about these days.
Well, I'm like transitioning into like more public speaking, and there's still
Yeah.
the comedy that comes in there. And one of the biggest things, because I thought it would be such an easy transition, because I'm like, oh, going from making people laugh every 30 seconds to being able to just tell, like, talk is going to be
Mhm.
so easy. Oh, no, it was a whole different animal. And you had to
Yeah.
get into like the stories and
Yeah.
really bringing them to life and doing the voices. What did they say? What did you say? How did you
Yeah.
feel? How did they feel? And all of a sudden it clicked to me and I go, holy shit. If I had been doing this with all my jokes when I was a comedian, it would have been a whole different ballgame, like a completely different ballgame. And they always
Yeah.
say, tell the story you don't want to tell. That's your
Interesting.
breakthrough story. And it's kind
Mm.
of like with comedy too, the more vulnerable you can be,
Yeah.
the more people are actually going to like you.
We have to be careful with that because you don't want to get canceled. You got to get
Well,
certain
yeah,
stories you can't. I got a few I got to kind of keep in the trunk.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're like, I don't know about the story you don't want.
Yeah. Yeah. Just thank God there were cell phones. That's all I'm saying. But
I know,
yeah.
I know. I look at that too. I'm like, when Facebook came out, I was a senior in college, and we were one of the schools that got selected for it.
Mm,
But nobody was really using it. It was just kind of on there, and I
sure.
just thank God every day because I'm like, I did a lot of. I mean, there's definitely naked photos of me, but not on cell phones. They're on disposable cameras. They're long
Because
gone.
you're classy. That's
Yeah,
right. Polaroids,
exactly.
baby. Old
I
school. I love
know.
it.
So speaking of like being, with the whole cancel culture, I feel like it's kind of hit the extreme and now it's starting to go back to like where people have just had enough. I mean, you've seen it with like Louis C.K. and Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr.
Yeah. Kind of. I mean, I think people always, this generation coming up is always going to find a way to try to cancel you. And it's funny. I did. It's amazing what, like, I understand certain outrage. Like, I understand when it comes to, female rights. I understand it when it comes to race. And then sometimes people are like I did a joke that's on my special, and they released it on Dry Bar, and it's about being at a greasy pig contest. I do this whole joke. I said, if you don't know what greasy pig contest is, where they take a pig and they put Crisco cooking oil on it. Then all these little country kids try to catch the pig, and America, I make fun of it and whatever. And then the winner, and to run it short, I said the winner gets a GED. And that's the joke, pretty much.
Yeah, that's
And
hilarious.
the greasy pig people came at me. And it's like, that's the one group you don't want mad at you. It's like,
That's so
they're like, what you know about pigs? And they're like coming out online. It just made me realize how ridiculous, like,
hilarious.
it's a silly thing with kids. It's a joke, obviously, and it's just so funny. It doesn't matter what it is. It's like people will find a way to get angry. And as a comic, you just have to kind of like laugh it off. And you can't, you just, whether it's, and some guys go in hard, there's still guys like Nick DiPaolo out there, going in hard. There's guys that, are taking those risks. And I think there's always going to be an audience that doesn't want that cancel culture and wants you to, I mean,
Yeah,
look, Louis is selling out. There's people,
I know.
that are back doing stuff. So I think it's definitely a half and half. I think most people are kind of letting their guard down. But I think there's always going to be a group that's going to be angry over nothing because they don't have a life, and that's what they put their energy into, trolling and commenting. And that's the sad part, is that like when I see people leave all these comments, I'm like, who's got time to like invest in like doing that all day? Like, get a life, get a hobby, like learn how to cook, like do something. Like, what are you doing?
I know, and it's crazy, but it's crazy how much power they have too. I mean, literally, they're
Yeah.
like kids in their
Oh,
parents' basements, probably, that don't have a
yeah.
job, or they work at like wherever. And
Yeah. They bring down big people. Yeah, it's crazy.
but I'm like, how do they have so much power? All it takes is one mad little troll,
Yeah.
and the whole, now the troll people are coming after me, and the whole system goes down. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
where did we get to a point where people are like, hey, I don't like that joke,
Yeah.
walk away? Like, you're not going to love everything.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day. I mean, there used to be a time when none of this existed, and so if you
The good
didn't
old
like,
days.
yeah, so if you didn't like something, like even like a movie or whatever, there was critics that did that. There was like two guys that thumbs up and thumbs down. There wasn't a whole culture of all of us just commenting on every piece of art that was out there. You would just have to watch a show on PBS with two guys watching the movie if you wanted like somebody to actually critique it, or you actually read an article. Somebody, that was their job. They were the critique reviewer in this newspaper. Now it's like everybody just, as soon as something comes out, they just shit on it, just go after you, and you're just like, what?
I
It's
know.
like 40 people all at once. It's like, it's insane. But
Does that impact when you're creating new material? Does that thought and that fear kind of run in the back of your head?
it doesn't. Like, it's funny because like with this greasy pig thing, like now that's part of the joke where I just talk about how these people are coming at me, and it's like the one group you don't want to coming at you is the people that hog tie for a living, and then you just make fun of them, so you just make fun of that. You make fun of now jokes are like that. I'm sure you have jokes like that where somebody said something rude online, and then that becomes part of the joke. And then, you just have to laugh at it and you make it a part of the thing. You can't just get afraid that people are saying stuff. You just got to make them, all right, if you're going to do that, you're part of the act now.
Yeah. No,
Thanks for the
exactly.
punchline. Yeah.
And that's like it. That's exactly what you have to do. I mean, it's like almost like the goal is to be so big you can't be canceled. That's the main,
Yeah. And
you
like,
know.
I think it was that thing on, I forget, one of the talk shows guy, I forget, whatever, but they read like, mean tweets, like the
Okay.
celebrities. And that's, that's such a funny way to kind of like counter it, is just be like, having those people, read the mean tweets that people say about them. And so then I think that's a way of like diffusing it and not getting affected by it. So that's some
Yeah.
of the jokes.
Well, exactly. And it probably makes the celebrities who are being bashed like feel better about things. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
everybody, the problem with social media is that, well, it's given everybody a platform, which is a beautiful thing, but it's also given everybody a voice, and people don't know how to properly use it. And that's
Yeah.
the part.
And yeah, and people that normally wouldn't speak up, or just like, get to say I mean, back in my, if we said something, like, you might get in a fist fight. Like, that was the probability was pretty high.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people don't know what that is anymore. They don't know what fear of a person, coming at them over something they said. Now they're just little cowards behind the computer, and it's just like, where I come
Yeah.
from, Texas, it's like you said something to somebody, you got slapped, So it's like
Right.
they don't have that fear. So it's like, it's really weird when a kid doesn't have that.
Well, but it's good that you just go through it, and, but I had that in comedy too, where I was like, oh, there was a lot of fear that held me back. Not so much
Mhm.
at the end, but more at like the beginning and the middle. It was a lot of fear of what people thought. It was a
Mm.
lot of anxiety of what could go wrong. And obviously I
Yeah.
got through all that, and that's why I have the book. But having fear and the thought of worrying about what people think in comedy will kill you.
It will. It will. And in life, relationships, everything, like, it's
Yeah.
just, fear cripples a lot of us for sure. I think it's
Yeah.
just like something you have to, and it's like, if there is an upside to aging, it is
Yes, there is an
that.
upside for sure.
That's the upside. You get, as much as we want to like, our face doesn't look like it did when we were 20. Like, at least we have the inside that we've always wanted,
It's yeah. What was
you
it?
know.
I saw a saying where it was like, like when you're 20, you have the face you want, and when you're 50, you have the face you deserve.
Okay. That one's pretty hard. But I was thinking more about the confidence and all that.
Well, that's
I don't know if I want that face I deserve. I just thought you were going somewhere totally different. You're gonna be like, yeah, but you have the confidence and the knowledge and everything. I was like,
like
whoa, okay, yeah,
I think the person that was trying to say it was saying like that it applied more to women, where
yeah,
it's like your experiences and your wisdom,
yeah,
your memories and your laughter and your pains come with, you know, little lines and
yeah,
little saggy and
yeah.
all
No,
the bouncing, you know.
yeah, we don't have to embrace that. None of us are embracing the way we should deserve to look. That's for sure. I tried that. I don't know if you've tried that. I was like, yeah, I'll just age out. And I was like, I'd lasted about a month and a half. And I was like, all right, man, get back to Just for Men. Just get back. I'm not going out like this. Like I tried, I tried to just I'll be all natural. And then I was like, nah, man. It's like, I don't have the personality for that. Like I
Yeah,
feel young. I dress young. Like it's just in me, and it's like you're very young and the way
it keeps
it's
you
like,
young. You,
yeah, you have to, I
you,
think so.
yeah, you definitely have to. And it's still, you know, it's still show business. It's still,
Yeah,
you gotta,
I
no matter
agree.
what your age is, it's, you
Yeah,
gotta still look good for whatever part you're playing, and you're playing yourself. So you
yeah.
want to look good and feel good.
Well, I think stand-ups always feel a little bit immature in a sense that, it's like the idea of this whole thing is very young. It's like we're out late, we're
Yeah.
we're, basically coming up with silly ideas. Most of the food we eat is like a 9-year-old. We're eating chicken fingers at a comedy club. Like the whole thing is just so ridiculous. And then we're always with young people. There's always a comic who's like 22 that we're talking to in a green room. So it's like
Yeah.
we're constantly in that youth cycle, it's always there. So that's what I do love about it, where I feel like you don't have to like age out and be like, overweight and miserable, and you can be young and sexy and fun, and you can keep all that. And comedy is a good place for it, you know.
Oh,
You
it
can
definitely is. You know, if you laughter is like natural medicine. It keeps you young, it
yeah.
keeps you going. The
Yeah.
problem is people will come into comedy clubs and be like, "Oh, this is so great. This is amazing." But what they don't realize with the audience is like all the shit that happens behind the scenes, and all the work and all like the maintenance to try to keep up an image, and
Yeah.
the competitiveness that goes with it. So yeah, it's a really great industry, but there, like any industry, there's a lot of dark sides to it too, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
a lot, low barrier to entry. Anyone can
Yeah.
be a comedian, right? All you have to do is jump on an open mic stage and take a headshot, bam, you're a comedian. But are you going to be a comedian that's actually paid?
Yeah. Or yeah, and then you can just get on TikTok and get a following and sell out clubs that real comics can't sell out. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
I
Yeah.
actually went one night. Somebody was like, let's go to a comedy club. I'm like, I spent half of my life in comedy clubs. I really don't want to go to a comedy club right now. They were like, just come. And it was a TikToker. Never heard of
Ah,
this guy in my life.
yeah.
4 million followers. What I will say,
Wow.
never seen this guy. He was good. He actually
No,
was really, really good. Um, it
yeah.
was all these stories, but he was very young, but everybody was there because he was this TikTok guy. And that's how they brought him on stage.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of it. I always say, I mean, the goal of this whole entire thing is to just find your fan base.
Yeah.
It's not that's all it is. It's not anything else beyond that. I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, but it's like if you have a fan base and people will come see you and embrace you, then it's like it's easier to write material, new material. It's easier to like, take risk because your audience is with you. So that's why I think it's a lot easier for guys like that, just because it's like, they found a way. Because when I started, it's like you had to get Letterman, you had to be on the
Yeah.
road and have a half hour. You had to, all that's completely different now. It's like it's just but if you have a fan base, then yeah, you can do anything really. Like,
And which is what is so great too is, you saw so many comics that were so talented, but they just didn't make it because they didn't have the right agent or the right team behind them or whatever reason. But now, like, anyone can make it. I feel like the comics and artists aren't beholden to the agents anymore, which I love.
I've been in this a long time, and I feel like this is my year. You know what I mean? Like you just have to, because I made a lot of bad choices, and I made a lot of choices. Maybe they weren't bad choices, but they were, I wasn't looking beyond what I should be looking for. Like I felt like it was when you're in New York, sometimes it's like you get very caught up in like being a club comic. Like everybody wants to pass the clubs. Like that's
Yeah.
all it's in your head. I want to pass the Cellar. I want to pass the Strip. I want to pass the Caroline. All that is like that's all you want to do, and you get kind of tunnel vision with that. And then the other thing is stage time. It's like you just want like you get up as much as you want. As long as you get up a lot, then you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And so I remember what I passed the Comedy Cellar and I was all excited and I was playing there and I was playing weekends and then things slowed down a little bit, but I was still working there. And then I remember Al Martin came up and he was like, "Hey, we're opening this club down the street." And I was like, and then I had to make that choice. I'm like, do I just kind of like hang out and stay at the Cellar and maybe not get as much time, or do I create this environment for myself and like go with this and get the stage time, but I won't necessarily have the cloud of the Cellar? And so that's a choice that I made. And so then I went with Al and I got all the stage time I could ask for, but then at the same time, I kind of got away from maybe where I should have been headed. And so, you just make these choices and then you have to kind of like reinvent yourself, and
Yeah.
that's why I'm moving from New York to LA has been great for me. We've been here about 2 years, and Leah Bonma, great comedian, she's my girl, and we were here together, and it's like it's just been great, just kind of like reinventing myself here in LA, where nobody sees me as the booker, nobody sees
Yeah.
me as the cowboy game. I have my own thing here. Like I'm able to kind of just reinvent and have fun with it, and and I come and I do a show, and they're like, "Wow, you're good. We don't know you," and I love that.
Yeah.
And I feel like things have really picked up by just kind of reinventing. And I think we have to do that as artists, is just kind
Yeah.
of, just like scratch, let's start over, let's do something different. And so that's kind of what my journey's been like, as of the past couple of years, is just kind of like, you know, just like leave. That was great. I got my comedy legs. I learned a
Yeah.
lot. And then now it's like, all right, let's do something different. Let's sell a script. Let's get on a showcase. Let's do something out here and let's work the road with these amazing people and do all that stuff. So it's been cool. Just kind of
Yeah,
doing.
no, I think that's great too, because I think it's where you get really caught up is like when you keep doing the same shit over and over and over again,
Yeah.
and then you're not
Yeah.
growing. It's like the same
Yeah.
jokes, the same clubs, the same
Yeah.
scenes,
Yeah.
the same place. So
Yeah.
it's good that you got up and changed everything because your
Yeah.
environment has a huge impact on you.
Absolutely. And you see guys in New York that are funny. Even like Dave Attell, I think he's one of the most genius comics in the world, but is he happy? You know what I mean? It's like,
No, I
you
mean,
see guys like that. And then, I mean, I love him. If this ever gets out, I think you're one of the greatest comedians ever lived. But at the same time, you can tell that it's, the weight of it is of New York and everything. I don't know. I just
yeah,
feel like you just see people that even though they might be making money and they might be whatever, it's like they're still kind of in a grind that can eventually kind of wear you down a little bit.
yeah. Well, it's a life on the road too. I always loved going on the road because I didn't go on
Yeah.
the road that much. So I
Mm.
loved the hotels and
Mm.
seeing new places
Yeah.
and having the road trips with comics. I thought that was so fun. I loved New York City, like
Yeah.
Sunday to Friday, and
Mhm.
I always wanted to leave on the weekend. Always. I like needed to escape. And so the road
Yeah.
was really good, but you could see when these guys have families or
Sure.
maybe they don't have families because they're always
Yeah.
on the road, it can get
Yeah.
pretty lonely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I love the road too, and I get to work with some amazing people, and it's been phenomenal. Some of the places that I've been able to perform at, and we just got back from Pittsburgh as with Nate Bargatze. We had 10,000 people. Just
That's
the
amazing.
idea of just getting on stage and telling jokes and where the Penguins play, and you're
Yeah.
just like, what are you doing? I'm just up there, and I was like doing new stuff and like messing around. I'm like, what am I doing? And like,
I love
get
that.
focused, get focused. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And like, that's things that have been happening lately. And I feel like I know you're a big manifest person. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's stuff that I've been manifesting and asking. And that's the thing, is you got to ask people and you got to like reach out and you got to like, feel worthy of asking and things like that. And so a lot of those things I've been really good at in the past few years. And, just kind of, like I said, reinventing myself and stuff and just asking people that, and you don't know until you ask, until you're like, hey, if you never need anybody on the road, whatever, I can work clean, whatever, you let people know. And then my
Yeah.
life has really opened up. And then I got, the dry bar and all this other stuff. And because I was working with Nate and was able to work clean, because
Yeah.
I knew I could. And then And then when I got that opportunity, I was able to pull it off because I've been doing this with him. And so, everything kind of connects itself. And so,
Well,
it's just,
yeah, and I like what you said, because no matter what you do, if you don't ask, you're not gonna get.
yeah,
And I think so many people are afraid to ask because they're afraid of rejection. But I always tell people when they're scared of it, I'm like, the answer's already no if you don't ask.
yeah, yeah.
Rather
And
just
I'm
no.
still getting used to that. You never get quite used to rejection, but it's like, but you have to. I was telling Leo earlier, I was like, yeah, I go, rejection in comedy is kind of like a boxer not accepting the fact they get hit, like that's just part of it. You're going to get hit, you're not going to be the
Yeah.
one that always knocks the guy out. So you just have to get used to it over and over. But yeah, eventually they
And
say no, they say yes, and they
well,
say
yeah,
no
and
100 times.
the more you do it, and I always say, like, I've had videos on it, like life happens for you, and the more doors you knock on, the closer you
Yeah.
are getting to the door that's going to open. So you might as well knock on as many doors as you can, you know.
Yeah. You also have to be like, I felt like when I first started comedy, I got a lot of no's. And my whole mentality was, okay, you're not going to book me. Well, I'm going to run a way better room next to you, or I'm going to go down the street, or I'm going to have the baddest room in New York or whatever. So my whole thing was, it's like, oh, you're not going to help me. Well, I'll help myself and you'll wish you had me. And so I feel like it kind of put a fire in me a little bit. Rejection put a fire, and it put a fire in a lot of people.
Yeah.
There were people that, successful people that got so many no's, and it'll made them make that movie that they tried to sell, or it made them, create
Yeah.
a movie where maybe they couldn't get a part in a movie, so they wrote a movie for themselves, or things like that. So it's like, I think it's definitely. I think Woody Allen was like that, where he really couldn't get work as an actor, so then he really pushed the writing, and well, that worked out. So it's like,
Yeah.
things like that. It's like you just kind of like, it puts that fire under you to just move forward and be creative and stuff like that. So
Well,
rejection can be a good thing.
yeah, I always say it's a great thing, and we have such limited time on this earth, and I always tell people, and it sounds morbid at first, but it's really not. Like, if you're scared of something, like, oh, what are they gonna think of me, or are they gonna say yes, or whatever it is, just flash forward to your deathbed and see if you would still be scared when your life was about to end. And the chances are you're probably not. So go take the risk now while you have a chance.
Man, you're hardcore. I didn't know. I got Madison. I don't know what she's doing over there. She got some, new coaching thing. I was like, wow. She's like, she goes in hard. All right, we are on your deathbed. What are you gonna do, huh? You puss? What are you gonna do? I
Right.
love
Well, here's the thing. Once you're on your deathbed, you're going to be like, damn, I really wish I would have done that. I wish I wasn't scared. I wish it wasn't that.
It's
Well,
true.
your deathbed
No,
could
you're
be,
right. You're totally right. It's just,
go for it.
it's tough to envision, but it's true. You
Yeah.
just have to take risks and do things. And also, I also feel this. I see this with a lot of artists and comedians and actors and who whatnot. And I feel like, as much as we need to strive for the bigger picture, and much as we need to create this life that we fantasize about, we also have to kind of like enjoy the moments that are good, enjoy that last set you had, enjoy the fact that the club gave you a free meal, enjoy that somebody wrote something nice about you online, or whatever. Like, enjoy those little, because we don't do that a lot as comics, as
We
as
don't.
artists in general. It's like, enjoy those little things. And I think that's what I try to do, is like enjoy moments and not be so crazy about like having to be, because we all want to be successful, but at the same time, we are more successful than we realize, because where we're at, there's 1,000 people who like to be where we are. And so it's like,
Yeah.
you have to look back and reflect a little bit on that. I don't think people do that enough.
No, and they should. And you've probably gotten better at that as you've gotten
Yes.
older. So that's part of, like, you
And
get more
therapy. Got a
creative.
great therapist.
I
Alan
remember
Lefkowitz.
for a really long time, I was so critical of myself and so hard on myself. And I didn't realize I was doing it, but we would do like Ryan DeCalos's shows, and I
Yeah.
would get off, and Danny Palmer was on there a lot. And somebody would be like, "Oh, nice set." I'm like, I don't, and he told me, he's like, "You're so hard on yourself. It's not even
Mm,
funny."
yeah.
And then I had other people tell me that too. And they're like, "Why are you so hard on yourself?" And I didn't even realize, I think it's because I was striving for perfection. But what I quickly realized is that perfection doesn't exist.
It doesn't. But I
It just,
respect that you're hard on yourself, because I think,
yeah. But I think I was too hard.
yeah. 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 It's funny. It's like, I'm like that too. I'm still kind of like that. And so, cause I want a certain set to go a certain way. And like, I recently, and when it's like, freaking 8,000, 7,000, you're just like, oh my gosh, it's like, cause I'm gonna tell you something, when something doesn't work on stage and it's like 10,000 people,
It really doesn't
you
work.
really feel it. You feel it in your soul. You're like, oh my God. So, but, I'm still trying to be like, upbeat about whatever happens, cause it's like the fact that, you're doing stuff. And so I remember, one of the producer guys or production guys or whatever, he says, how'd it go? And I was like, yeah, we're good. He said, did it go? Yeah. I go, what do you say? Oh, well, usually you're pretty hard on yourself afterwards. I said, no, well, I'm working on that. And so then you're telling yourself, well, was it bad? Cause you didn't, so it's like, then you're second guessing all that stuff. But I think we have to kind of like, we definitely can't be too hard on ourselves, but at the same time, you don't want to be delusional, either.
Well, exactly. Right. You want to know where you can improve.
Yeah, and as long as you're somewhere in the middle, I think it's good, because you'll see some comics that'll be like, "I killed," and it's like, "Did you? All right, did you kill?" Because I've seen 10,000 people stand up for a person. To me, that's killing. Like, I don't think you're killing, like, because you got 3 applause breaks. But so it's definitely and that's a New York thing where we're hard people. New York makes you hard. Even if you come from like, you come from Colorado, come from Texas, like, it doesn't matter where you come from. You're still going to like kind of have this sense of just kind of, cynicism and stuff about everything, including yourself. So.
Well, and New York was so amazing, and it was the best place to do comedy. But when I got out of it, the only reason I left New York originally was because of COVID.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not staying in this shithole. I still have a storage unit there, and I'll go back part time. But it's amazing how relaxed I started to become and happier and just not as anxiety ridden. And I'm like, I think it's New York.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I don't
Not
think
have
it's
to get on
me.
the R train. Yeah. And see somebody with no pants on. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, yeah, I mean, look at me. I mean, it's like but you probably don't even recognize me. Like, I'm a totally different person, But even my personality, like, I feel like it all changed a lot just being in the environment. I got a dog and a car and go to the canyon. I go to the canyon every day and I go hiking, and just that stuff changes you, because New York is great, and it really is. And I feel it is the place, at least it used to be, not as much as it was, but it's definitely the place where you go to get great, being a comedian. Like, it's a good place. It's the gym, if you will, or the dojo. But then, but then after a while, I mean, I think you got to like try it out somewhere else and like see what else is out there, because I think the scenes have changed a lot. Because there's a lot of different scenes now. Like, Austin is a scene, Nashville's a scene. Like, there's a lot of places where you could start and kind of stay there and not go to New York and probably be okay, as long as you, got an agent and whatever and figured it out. But I think, but it used to be like, you go to New York, you get your stand up going, and then you go to LA and get on a sitcom, or, it used to be kind of a process. But I think that process is changing a little bit.
Yeah, which is good. And you're seeing a lot of comics move to like Florida or Tennessee or Texas. And which is nice, because I think with New York, which was so stressful, it was so expensive. So you weren't able, everybody was living like freaking like vagabonds. Like, you weren't even being able to enjoy life, and everything you were making was like somehow going out the door. And that can cause so much stress. But you're also around so much wealth and power, and you're like, oh, how do I catch up? This is just crazy.
Yeah, we had like a 400 square foot apartment, and we lived there for 13 years together. And the fact that we're even still together, is amazing.
Yeah.
And so
it's great.
we came out to LA, and it's like twice the square footage, same price. We got a pool, we got a parking spot. The whole thing is like, it's just, we've got an outdoor mall across the street. It's a whole life change.
Yeah.
And, it's like, definitely, Astoria was great. New York was great. New York City was great. And I miss it. I remember I came back. I think I stayed in your old apartment with Ryan.
Oh, with Ryan? Yeah. That's hilarious. Oh my God. It used to be a lot cleaner when I lived there. We had a maid. I did not live like that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet though. I was excited. I didn't care about the air mattress. I was like, it was all about location.
Yeah, but, the location was key for sure. I was there for, oh my gosh, 2006 to like,
oh wow,
pandemic. and then
Yeah.
I got out. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I could
the
walk.
pandemic, I think it opened us up a lot. It made us realize what was important, really what were we
Yeah,
looking for out of life, and and it's like, it was good for a lot of us, make decisions that we made and able to kind of like, expand ourselves a little bit because you just get kind of, tunnel vision in a certain place, not just New York, but anywhere really. So I think a lot of people made some strong choices that helped their lives a lot.
oh, for sure. And I talked about that in my book. And when I go back to New York, I'll still go and do Ryan shows because it's
Yeah,
fun.
of
I'll hustle
course.
whatever I'm
Yeah.
promoting at that point.
Ray Goots, whoever, I don't care.
Yeah. But like, what's so funny is I was like working and working and working as a comic or trying to do acting at one point, and then it wasn't until I kind of stepped away, wrote a book, other projects I was working on behind the scenes, and I'm like, now I have an agent.
Yeah.
What I had to quit comedy essentially to get an agent. Now I have an agent.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's just like I mean, that's the thing is that nobody would ever book me, to work with them and stuff on the road. Like, because I always got jealous when you would see people like, yeah, open for Kevin Hart or whatever. I'd be like, oh man, I wish I had a big comic taking care of me. And then it's
Yeah,
like, then I moved to LA and like these comics started, using me and stuff. And it's just like, just took me kind of like doing something different in order for them to see me almost. And so, yeah, it's like, it's like you just never know when things are going to start happening for you.
I know. And that's true. You can't time it. I think it's like we have that pressure. We got to do it when we're young. We got to make it when we're
Yeah.
young. And it's like, no, you're going to make it when you're ready.
Yeah. And we were just saying earlier, young is irrelevant. Like, it's like, you carry yourself young or you don't, It's like,
It's
I think,
totally irrelevant. I mean, if I could
yeah.
be 30 with this brain and this thought
Yeah.
process,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But
But
I would never go back to and have to go through all the shit I had to go through. Hell no.
you're crushing it though. Most women don't have your opportunity with, how amazing, like you look great is what I'm saying. Not in
Oh,
a
well,
weird,
thank
not a
you.
creepy way, but
Well, I try. I've done enough shit to beat up my face. The Morpheus. I'm on like painkillers and like, what the
we
fuck am
all
I
have. We all
doing?
have. My targeted ads. You ever get to see targeted ads? You're like, okay, I get it. I got to do some work. I'll get my hair done. I'll get my face done. God, get off me. You're just like, it's constant.
I know it is constant. Well, what's so crazy is like I've always been a fan of Botox. Like, yeah, I like my face not to move.
Take care of yourself. Yeah, as you should.
But then this shit started showing up on TikTok that was saying how Botox, which makes sense, how it
Yeah.
actually like alters your brain to where you
Hilarious.
can't respond as much. And I go, okay, we can't see emotions, right? So we read our emotions. Like I can tell
Okay.
if I'm having a conversation with you if you're pissed off based on the way your face is.
Yeah.
With me, I mean, I only do it like here and here and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I need.
but
I
like
need to do this. Yeah.
yeah, with me, like you couldn't tell if I was pissed or not. You'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with Madison?
I know.
She doesn't move.
Well, you're a perfect woman because I love not knowing my girl's pissed at me. So I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But apparently my brain
Yeah.
can't like is being altered. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I had a friend's mother say to me, she's all natural in her 70s, and
Yeah.
she's fine. She looks fine. She looks fine for what she is. And she said to me, that Botox I don't think is good. It is rat poison. It's probably not good for you guys.
Rat poison.
And I said, there's a lot of vaccines I've avoided because of that fear, or different shots. But for Botox, I feel like I'm going to take the risk. I said, listen, if it turns out that it's killing us, 90% of the women are going to drop dead, and I'm going with them. I'm good.
That's a great joke. You'd be like, but with Botox, I'm like, I'll take the chance. Look how good. You know what I mean? Look at this. Look at this face. Really?
Yeah,
But I think any
exactly.
of that stuff is like my stepdad was a plastic surgeon, and
Oh,
so
wow.
my
Okay.
mother would get all kinds of stuff, and she was pretty. So the whole thing is like you got to be pretty. It's like all that stuff looks great, Botox, as long as you're pretty. It's like when people aren't attractive and they try to get work done. You're like, all right, you're the problem. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like it's not going to change your face. Like like if you're
Well,
already kind of pretty, then you're going to look, maintain
yeah.
and look good and whatever. So it's just really funny when people come in and you're like thinking that they're going to look like Kim Kardashian or something. It's like, all right, dude, that's not going to happen.
Well, I know. It's like, we need to start with, accepting what God gave you and then
Yeah.
tweaking what he gave you, not
Yeah.
trying to completely change who you are. That goes into a whole nother thing, and I'm not even touching it. So steer away.
That's a weird show, but I love it. We're like, all right, I got cheekbones. I'm gonna get a little here, because everybody
Get a
always
little,
thinks I'm mad. I think that's why I call my
you
special
know,
cranky pants, because it's
you
like I
know
get that,
that
because men get this thing, we get this like it all goes here, get that like that serious. That's why a lot of people think I'm like, upset with them or something because I got that, that thing.
you got that Wild West face, the hat. You're
Yeah,
like,
I do.
eh.
I got that cowboy face. Yeah.
Well, do you know that Botox is becoming very popular with the men? They call it Brotox.
Sure. Oh, it's stop.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it is Brotox. And
Stop.
I'm going to tell you somebody, and the only reason I'm saying it is because he publicly says it, so it's not like
Yeah,
I'm throwing anyone under the bus. But
sure.
Anthony Scaramucci, you know him?
It sounds familiar. Yeah.
He was like a hedge fund guy who worked on the Trump administration for like
Oh,
10 days, got his ass fired.
yeah. That's not my circle.
Got a
Okay, so yeah.
blowjob. So anyway, he goes on media a lot. He loves the media stuff. Nice guy, but that guy, I mean, he looks great, but he's got more fucking Botox in his face. I mean, you could almost ski on his forehead at this point.
Yeah, with
It's a
men,
little too much. But he's like, I want to buy the Botox company. That's how.
yeah, that's not a
I
good
want all
thing.
the Botox. I'm like, that's extreme.
Yeah, sometimes my mom, she pretty much bought the plastic surgeon company, being married to a plastic surgeon. So sometimes she would come home and be like, her lips would be like a little crazy. Like, all right, man, you need to calm down. She had these huge, and it was like before everybody was doing it. So it's like they're still
Oh
figuring out the
wow.
kinks. And
Yeah.
so like, these catfish lips and stuff. So it's like, but I think with with men though, it's like, well, plastic surgery is a little different, but in general with that kind of stuff, you got to be a little more subtle too with it, because it's like some people get crazy. I mean, look, like Mickey Rourke was a handsome dude, was a beautiful
Yeah.
man. He was a Pope of Greenwich Village. I mean, there's not a better looking man on this planet. And then it's like, wow, you see him, you're like, good Lord, dude. It's
I
like,
know.
so anyway, I don't
Kenny
want to
Rogers
trash on
butchered
him,
his
but
face too.
who's this?
Kenny Rogers, remember him
Oh yeah, poor
towards the
Kenny.
end?
He just
Yeah,
looked he
he was
looked
like wax.
very
He looked like a
awake.
wax figure. Yeah, well, and then there's Madonna, but Madonna makes no sense to me because I'm like, she can afford the best plastic surgeons. Like,
I think
you should
it's
be telling her no.
reactions to things. I think is what it is. No matter what kind of surgeon you have, I think it's like certain reactions. And I think filler is that's the big one. People got to slow down on the filler.
Oh,
It's like,
well, that's
yeah,
why I do like all the lasers and the Morpheus,
yeah.
so it builds up the
Filler is
collagen.
changes your face.
It
And I
changes your
think when
face.
you get older, you get that fish thing with the filler.
Yeah. Like I had my last year, I decided to get a little bit of my top lip done because it was a
Uh,
little thin. And I remember obviously they're sticking a needle in your lip on this side and then this side. So you naturally swell. Okay. I
sure.
swelled. I didn't realize I thought I'd be fine. I like put the ice on it. I had to go out that night for something. And my friend who does lip injections all the time was like, I think they look great. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I look like I went 10 rounds with Tyson or went into a fucking beehive. Like I looked absolutely ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
I looked literally some guy showed me a video of like you seen the video with the two hot dogs and the guy like
Hilarious.
making fun of these fine and they didn't put that much in, but it was so much of swelling. Finally, I was like, I guess they look kind of good. They're finally were gone by February. And I'm like, I don't and then I'm like, maybe I'll put them back again. But I don't know.
Well,
Because they get addicting.
it is interesting though, because it's like, you know, people don't realize like what it's like to, and this is hilarious. I'm gonna speak for both of us, what it's like to be attractive when you're young. And so not everybody knows what that's like. So, I mean, I look like Johnny Depp when I was in high school, long hair,
Oh,
it's
right?
like, had a motorcycle, like I was crushing it, and
Yeah.
I know you were too. And so it's like, it's just funny when you've had that in your life and then you get a little older, it's like it's hard to just let it go completely, because you're just like, all right, man, this is, I'm still gonna, like, I'm not necessarily fighting for, but you're not gonna just, let it all just disappear. And so it's like, it's a thing that you kind of like have to figure out as you get a little bit older. And then now it's like things are a little more accessible now, so things do look better than they used to. You know, it's like I'm always like, should I get my hair done? Should I do certain things? And then you're just like, it used to be, those kind of things were, not as accessible. Now they look good. Like Tom Brady, he had his hair done and all these people, and you're just like, it's like, yeah, why not? But at the same time, it's like, you got to go to Turkey, and what if your head swells, and like, you got to make decisions. Should I go to Mexico? Should I go to it's like, who do I get? I want Matthew McConaughey's guy. His guy's good. And I'm like searching online. You're just like trying to figure it all out.
It's so true, but it's like, it gets to that point where, my grandmother's friends who are still, some of them that are still alive, I'm like, they got it good. I feel like once we hit like 70 or 80, we're just going to be like, you know what? Fuck it. We got nothing.
I don't think so. I know you're not. Get out of here. You're gonna be like Jane Fonda all the way.
I'm gonna be like Dolly Parton.
Well, Dolly, Jane Fonda's got it figured out. I mean, she's like 80 and she looks amazing.
She does look amazing, and she doesn't look like she's trying to completely not be her age. So she looks
the hair is right, the dress is right, the sexuality is, it's just enough. Like, it's in certain women pull it off. Even Diane Keaton is like crushing it. And because she just something about, and also it's like be fit, that you can control. If you can't control your face, at least don't be, don't be overweight. Like, you know what I mean?
Get out, move.
Yeah, you can control. You can control, go to the gym and, be active. I always say stay active, don't eat things you can't pronounce, that kind of thing. But,
Yeah, exactly. And this whole like thing with Ozempic and whatever, like hitting the market. I mean, this is dangerous shit now.
Yeah.
Like people are taking diabetes drugs. The poor diabetics that got diabetes in the first place, they're like, I can't even get my medicine anymore.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
It's hard out there.
So it's like, just go to the gym. There's no shortcut to shit, right? You gotta
water and the gym are just two important things. Water, gym, and something green. And you'll look okay, and you'll live a couple of years longer. I would guarantee that, as long as the top three, water, gym, green. If you just somehow stay in that a little bit, you know what I mean? At least each day, do one of those three. You're okay.
Yeah, I think it's very, very true. Okay, so this has been fun. We've talked about everything from comedy being canceled, Botox, fillers. I admitted that I had lip injections a year ago.
This is not the take I thought we were gonna go, but it's fun. It's weird, whatever. We're weird people.
Hey, it's great. You know what? They're seeing a different side of you. Everybody knows you're just for men now. It's all good. It's more relatable. It's not you're aging backwards. Hey, I put highlights in my hair.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? You gotta keep the beard tight. You
gotta look good. Okay, so where do they go to find your special? And find
you go to Dry Bar is kind of like a Netflix platform. They have their own app on Roku. They have it on Apple TV. You can go there and get it. And if you put, I believe it's still, you can do a promo code D Chafin, DCHAFIN, and you can get a free month of Dry Bar, and you can see all the great specials they have on there. So you can check that out.
That's amazing. And then where can they find you on Twitter, social media?
At Dustin _ Chafin on the Instagram, and DustinChafin.com. You can check out all my tour dates and things coming up.
Perfect. And that's CHAFIN, just so you guys listen to it. Just one F, so you can find him. Very, very funny guy. I'm so glad we got to catch up, because I know when I go back to New York, you're not there anymore. So this is fun. Yeah. I'll let you guys know when I'm in LA as well.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah. You and Leah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That would be great. Okay, well, perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining me and having this fun, open conversation.
Do you want to do another one or what?
Of course we will. Yeah.
You're gonna use this one? Okay.
Of course we're gonna use this one.
Okay, I love it. No, I love talking this stuff.
Manifesting, it's right.
People are more open now. People are more open now about stuff, and I actually like that. I think it's kind of funny.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and thank you to everybody who's listening, wherever you may be. We will see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.